As a community, we've been studying and practicing nonviolent communication for some time, and it's been very helpful for my afflicted mind, and I wanted to share an example. So last week I reacted to something someone said and became angry. And so it's been interesting to see kind of how I've worked with my mind, trying to learn and to kind of watch how things arise and, work with it as it comes and apply some of the nonviolent communication techniques to help. So first I realized that it had been a while since I had been angry, and I had this kind of false sense of security that built up in my mind that, that's not going to happen, is it? Yeah, so there's my ignorance. And of course, intellectually I know that afflicted emotions will be abandoned at the path of seeing, I think. And I'm not even on the path yet, so it's interesting. But when something like this comes up and then I remember that, then it helps me to see kind of experientially, where I am. It's helpful, yeah. So I watched at first how my mind was so externally referenced and, 100% believing in the appearance of a truly existent person that is, out to make my day miserable. And it really took a day for me to turn that false appearance around and to start looking at my own behavior. And then when I started focusing on my own behavior, by doing that, then that released me to apologize to the person for my angry words. And that felt good to do, but then I noticed how my mind moved to the next phase, which is the beat up. And so that's the criticizing mind of, how could I be so arrogant to think that anger wouldn't arise again, And then criticizing, of course, myself that I created harm to another person, So when I started thinking that way, then I saw how I was making myself miserable again. So I started to apply self-empathy and compassion. And so these are two, of course, compassion is a Buddhist method, but self-empathy is quite nonviolent communication focused. So how I did that was first I accepted that I can't control my mind, and accepted that my mind was in judgment due to my recent actions. And in nonviolent communication, this step is called engaging your compassionate witness. And so I worked with this until I could feel an internal shift of acceptance. So that, it wasn't automatic. So I had to go over that a few times. And then next I asked myself, how could I think about this whole experience in kind of a bigger perspective, I guess. And so this is called, in nonviolent communication, called anchoring in the expansive perspective. And so this, of course, is very similar to Buddhist mind training methods, where you consciously open your view wide to shift from a very self-centered attitude to a more broader, realistic view. And so with that, I remembered afflictions will overtake my mind for a long time to come. So it would be a kindness to myself to remember this. And then I apologized to the person for my words, and I purified my actions. So now it would be time for me to stop beating myself up about it, to set it down now, to let it go. I also spent some time identifying what in my past contributed to my reaction and separated those two things. And then that allowed me to see very clearly how much conceptual story making I had put upon that situation that had nothing to do with the situation in the moment. And then lastly, I rehearsed the situation again in meditation and stopped the interaction before I acted angrily, and wrote down some specific statements that I could say in the future when I was in that reactive mode, and statements that I could say to myself internally and statements that I could say to the person in front of me. And so it was a very fruitful experience, actually, even though very painful, then not painful, then painful, and then not painful. So that's kind of how it goes, I think. And so really, for me, this is Dharma practice, taking whatever is in front of me onto the path, trying to figure out how to do it in a different way next time something comes up. Try to have a deeper understanding of where I'm coming from and what kind of my reactive buttons are, and then using the purification and to apologize to the person when I harm with my words, and then try to move on with a little more knowing, a lot more compassion, because I've found over time, if I don't bring compassion into whatever I do, I don't move much. So really, to me, the key ingredient is to accept where I am and then with compassion, try to step in and work with it. And so that served me. So I hope something there could be useful.